Welcome, everybody, to the group's launch webinar. My name is David Shull, CEO and co-founder of Tern, and wow, do we have an epic show for you today. We have so many big features to take you through, and it is going to be just the most incredible way to end 2024. Thank you to each and every one of you who is joining us live today. We are setting attendance records for this webinar, despite it being the holiday season, despite everyone traveling. And so it really does mean a lot that so many of you around the world are taking the time to be with us to see what we've been so hard at work building. We're going to kick off with just a few housekeeping items. I'm seeing a lot of you in the chat introducing yourselves, saying hello, and that is fantastic. We absolutely love to see that. One quick reminder, though, I want to make sure everybody can see the chat, can feel the energy. So when you do send a message, just make sure that that little drop down above the message that you're typing says everyone. That way we can all see it. And the chat really is one of our favorite things. This is, the entire Tern team is watching this webinar right now. And it's one of the few times that the R&D team, a lot of the folks that worked so hard to build these features are actually watching the real-time reactions of people seeing these features. And so watching your feedback, watching the way that you kind of think about these features is so energizing. It's one of the things that keeps us going. So use the chat, say hello, tell us what the weather is wherever you're at, whatever you want to say, but be social. And if you have a question, though, I'll tell you right now, not what you want to put in the chat. Don't ask a question in the chat. I guarantee you 100% chance it will not be answered by anybody on Tern, because we are watching the Q&A function. We've got a whole team of people that are fighting for their lives, trying to answer all the questions that you're going to send our way. The last webinar that we had in October, I think we had 650 questions come in over about 70 minutes. So be patient. We're probably not going to answer every single question. We're doing our best, but we will follow up with a whole bunch of resources, trainings, things. We'll answer your questions afterwards. And we always get this question, are you recording? Yes. Give us about 24 hours. We'll have it posted on our website under the updates tab. We'll have it on our YouTube page. You'll be able to go back and watch this. And make sure that you stay till the end, because we are going to be giving away a $500 travel gift card of your choice. We got some great feedback last time in the spirit of listening and learning from all of you that Southwest, while very exciting, if you live in a Southwest region, Southwest doesn't fly everywhere. And so that's maybe not as valuable. And so instead of picking an airline this time, you get to pick what travel company you want a gift card from, and we will send it your way. So stay till the end to make sure that you've got a chance to win. We're going to pull out our favorite wheel of names and hope that it can handle this many names. So stay tuned. And before I hand it over to Molly and to Brad to give you an overview of everything that we've been building on the group side, I do just want to take a minute to zoom out and really just anchor everybody in where Tern is going and really why we founded the company to begin with, why the people at Tern wake up every day and try and work incredibly hard to build for you. And it really came out of the ASTA conference that we attended 2 years ago. We spent a lot of time talking to you all as travel advisors, agency owners, suppliers. We even talked to travelers who were working with travel advisors and travelers that weren't working with travel advisors. And what we really came to the conclusion of is that you all are changing the way that people travel. And we came to the belief that everybody should be using a travel advisor to plan their trips. But we're all familiar with this. We go to dinner parties, we'll tell people like what we do or the industry we're in, and people say like, oh, I didn't realize travel advisors were still around. Or you look at the headlines and every technology wave that's out there has some headline associated with it saying, is the internet going to be the death of the travel advisor? Is AI going to be the death of the travel advisor? We believe that for too long, technology has been the enemy of this industry, and Tern exists to change this around. We exist to answer the question of what if we reclaimed technology for the benefit of each and every one of you? And so this is what we wake up every single day to do, is to build world-class technology that empowers you to be more efficient, to surprise and delight your clients, to really be able to spend more time selling, spend more time with your loved ones, whatever it is that you want to do. Technology should supercharge your workflow and enable you to combine the absolute best parts of a tech experience with the human touch and the human experience that only a travel advisor can bring. And so when we think about the audacity of Tern and what we stand for, we want to reverse that trend. Along with each and every one of you, we believe that technology empowering all of you can fundamentally change the way that people travel. And we are so excited to partner with you. For those of you that are already using Tern, you're helping us make this happen. We're already seeing travel agencies and advisors that are using Tern report higher sales than they've ever seen before. Like, it works. When you spend less time on manual data entry and fighting technology and more time surprising and delighting your clients, you sell more. It's really that simple. And this is why, again, we are trying to build Tern and what we're focused on every day. And you'll see so much of this baked into the presentation today. We think that there are three primary things that we need to do to make that a reality. One, we cannot lose sight of the role of the human touch in this industry. You all and the relationships and the experience and the service that you provide your clients are what make this industry so special. And if we can combine that with digital efficiency through artificial intelligence, workflow and automations, kind of technology that enables your clients to give you the right information faster, that's a win-win. We also, speaking of the client experience, want to enable you to deliver client experiences that exceed anything they could get if they were booking things themselves. And that really hasn't existed before, where you can actually go to your clients and say, not only do you get me as an incredible advisor, but you also get a digital experience that you'll never find on any of the OTAs. That's the ambition here. And again, you'll see a lot of this as we start talking about the group's experience. And finally, one of the things that we fundamentally believe at Tern is that relationships underpin this. We're going to talk a lot about the events that we've gone to and all these things. And like, we just think that relationships are the reason that this industry is so special. We're grateful for the relationship that we have with each and every one of you. And we think that technology can help supercharge those relationships. And it's very dangerous if you start thinking about technology as a replacement for relationships. And so through everything we're doing, we're trying to focus on how do we modernize and how do we really empower that, not replace it. And so this is what Tern exists to do. And I'm so proud to report that we have made tremendous progress in 2024. It is really, really incredible. And so before we kind of start with everything new, for many of you, this is maybe the first webinar you've attended for Tern. Some of you may have not tuned in since January because you've been waiting for groups. And so I just want to talk a little bit about what we've done so far in 2024. We kicked off the year, and it's kind of fun just to like take a step back. Like this time last year, we had basically an itinerary builder and a form builder. We had no credit card authorization. We had no mobile app. We had no, everything that we're about to talk to you didn't exist. And so in the period of 12 months, we launched a world-class credit card authorization flow that lets you deliver an online checkout style experience for your clients. We integrated terms and conditions with versioning so that you can actually have a paper trail of the exact terms that your clients agreed to, which has already helped protect advisors from chargebacks. We introduced a way to bring over your data and to quote insurance. In the spring, we doubled down on this idea of automation by bringing in a direct integration to your inbox. We're still the only platform out there that does this. If you send an email from Tern, it will show up in your email provider in your sent folder. And if you get an email from a supplier, you can categorize that to the trip, even if without having to do any forwarding or BCCing. We built in email templates, automations, and of course, we were the first in the industry to introduce Tern AI Assist, which I'm so proud to share. We estimate has saved over 12,000 hours of travel advisor time from manual data entry. And if you just think about that number, 12,000 hours, I mean, if you're a Malcolm Gladwell fan, like that's enough time to become a world expert in something that's been saved since we launched this in May. And since then, we doubled down on AI. We're the only platform in the industry with a custom AI model trained specifically on helping travel advisors do more with less time. We have the industry-leading technology here. And again, we are laser focused on leveraging technology to free you up to do what you do best, which is to serve your clients, to build relationships, and hopefully save some time to do things that you love, like travel or spend time with loved ones. Not only did we introduce that, but we've dramatically improved the Tern itinerary. We introduced a whole new layout that's easier for your clients to follow. We introduced pre-day itinerary information, great for things like packing lists. We added better handling of hotels and flights, new pricing options and visibility. The Tern itinerary is such an improved experience compared to this time last year. And we brought those same types of experience improvements to mobile with offline support so that even if your clients are traveling somewhere without internet, they can access their Tern itinerary. And we introduced real-time push notifications for flight changes, gate updates, which means that we've heard story after story of clients getting an update from Tern before the airline even announced the change. And what's really cool is as an advisor, you get those updates as well. So you can intervene and support your client way before anything's wrong, beat the rush of people that are calling the support line to make a change. This has been a huge improvement. But we weren't done. We added a whole new way to collaborate in Tern. Again, this is something where we took a step back, we understood the problem, and we knew that planning travel oftentimes is a team sport. You're working with assistants, you're working with people across your agency, you're working with suppliers. And so Tern is the only platform out there that allows you to collaborate across the team, to share emails automatically so that the people that are covering for you have the context necessary to serve your clients, to work on a trip in real time together, whether that's a virtual assistant entering that in, or maybe you're working with a supplier to build that out for your clients. And even being able to assign tasks to different people on your teams and track whether or not those tasks have been completed. Beyond this, we also have ways to share content, which is making it so much easier for agencies to onboard new advisors who are trying to get their bearings and trying to learn so many things. It enables them to eliminate this whole, oh, you have to go set up your own email templates and forms and all that. It's just there. You log in, and because we have this built-in sharing of content, it's just there. It's ready to go. We built in new reports so that you can see the health of your business at a glance, whether you're an advisor or you're an agency owner, automatically pulling the data that you are using to create proposals and itineraries so that you're not entering that data multiple times, and yet you can see the key numbers that you need to understand the health of your business. You can see those top suppliers. You can see when you're expecting commission and what's overdue, all automatically without having to enter it into another platform. We extended that concept into Tern for agencies, a brand new suite of tools for agency owners to run their business from Tern, and enabling their advisors to stop the madness of manually entering sales reports. I mean, it's like mind-boggling how much time is wasted and how many commissions go unclaimed because an advisor just forgot to submit a sales report. Like, that should just not happen in 2024. And by vertically integrating this experience of what world-class advisor tools with an agency back office, we are changing that forever. And it's been incredible to see how agencies are not only saving time and money, but they're also enabling their advisors to sell more. There's some great case studies on the website of how this is really making impact. And we are so crunched for time in this webinar. We don't have time to talk about the hundreds of other updates that we have shipped. It has been absolutely incredible. Huge shout out to our product and our engineering and our designer team. This has been absolutely incredible. Tern has shipped in a year what usually takes a decade for companies to do, and we are going to continue that trend. One of the things I think that's so exciting, though, is that Tern is not more than just a product. We really think Tern is a community. And I want to open this webinar by just saying how grateful we are for each and every one of you. Posted this in the Facebook group on Thanksgiving, but it really does kind of fill our hearts knowing that there's such a community around Tern. And I think that it's really been neat to see the role that you're playing in shaping this product. We had over 1,100 product requests submitted in Canny since we launched that early this summer. 22,000 votes on products, and shout out again to our product engineering team. In the past 6 months, have addressed over 2,000 votes worth of product feedback, which is just, I think, a testament to the responsiveness of this team. Now, the Tern community also loves Facebook. This has been shocking. Facebook has become a full-on addiction for me. For those of you that are in there, you see me responding at all times a day. I wake up, I look at the Facebook group, I go to bed, look at the Facebook group. My wife's not a big fan of the Facebook group, but I love it. And it's such a cool way to hear from all of you. We had over 3,100 posts, 23,000 comments, 40,000 reactions. It's been amazing. In July, we launched a podcast. There was lots of debate internally. Will anybody listen to this podcast? Why are we doing a podcast? Should we do a podcast? Like, there's lots of podcasts out there. And it's been really, really special to see that this has really developed quite a loyal following. Over 1,400 hours watched on YouTube since we launched this. Huge subscriber growth and listener growth on Spotify. So if you are one of the people that are kind of listening, thank you. If you're not, you can subscribe to Flight Path by Tern on any major place that you get your podcasts. It's a great way. Brad, Molly, and I talk every week about what we shipped and what's new. We talked about this, but community is really about meeting in person. We love the relationships. These are some pictures from all the different conferences we attended. We loved meeting you. And it was an incredible moment at the ASTA conference this year where we were awarded Entrepreneur of the Year. Just so special to see the industry so early in Tern's history. We're like less than 18 months old, acknowledging the impact that we're already having. And we've really tried to give back to that community by building content and resources that, beyond the product, help you take your business to the next level. We published a white paper on our view of how technology is going to change the role of an agency and the role that that's going to play and how agencies need to adapt to be competitive in the future. We also were tired of going to conferences and seeing people get up on stage being like, if you're not using AI, you're behind, and then provide zero practical tips on how to start using AI. We're like, this is ridiculous. And so we published a white paper on how to actually take that to the next level. Tactical steps on how you can use AI. You can find both of these at tern.travel. Go to the updates tab, scroll below the product updates. It'll be right there. So I think it's safe to say that 2024 has been Tern's breakout year. But in case you haven't looked at the calendar, it's not over yet. This is when I get to hand it over to Molly. And I just want to end on like this little subtext I think is so special. And again, I'm just going to spend a lot of today just bragging on the team because it's been 31 days since our last product webinar. Everything that we're about to talk to you about has been built in the past 31 days. Like it's just incredible. And it shows the effort and the dedication that this team has to building something special for you. And so Molly's going to start taking you through it.
Hello, everyone. I could not be more excited to be here. And I will put my hand up as someone who is officially wrong that people would listen to the podcast. It's become one of the highlights of my week. So it's been just an incredible year. Cannot wait to share all of the amazing updates we've made with you. And our engineering team has been hard at work. And as David said, they're all listening. So we love the love in the chat. It's so wonderful to see. Before I get into groups, we didn't just do groups over the last 31 days. We made some major updates to collaboration that I'll briefly touch on. So now you can easily collaborate with your contacts across your agency or with a VA or another team member. You can also now collaborate within trips by managing travelers and insurance, which were gaps in the last time we shared all of this in the webinar. For people who are working on the same trip, so especially like agents working together on a trip and they need different commission for different bookings, we now support different bookings for different agents within those trips, which was a huge unlock to collaborating from a reporting and commission tracking standpoint. And you can now reassign trip ownership. So if a lead comes in at the agency level and you need to hand it off to an agent or you have a referral as an advisor, you can reassign that ownership today to have someone else fully take over that trip while even still being the collaborator on it. So a lot of fun updates on collaboration that we can't even get into today because we have too much else to talk about, but we've done all of that since the last time. Now, I'm sure everyone is here to talk about groups. We are so excited to talk about groups. I was looking back over the last month and a half, and every single week for 6 weeks, we have shipped a major groups feature. So we have a lot to talk about, and we could not be more excited to share. Before we do, I just want to reiterate what David said and really thank our community. Brad and I and others on the team have spent so many hours with all of you, really walking through your workflows for groups. You share your screen, you show us your pain points, and we've uncovered a lot of pain in the industry when trying to manage these large group trips at scale and still maintain a really world-class client experience. So when we really sat back and digested all of the feedback we got, we thought, what if we can make groups just as easy as managing individual trips in Tern with the same world-class client experience? And I'm excited to talk about how we did that. And it was really thanks to all of you sharing your feedback with us. So the first thing that we heard when we talked to all of you was how hard it was to keep track of individual trips within a group. You might be planning dozens, hundreds of different trips, and you need ways of organizing those trips into your group while still being able to manage things on a per trip level. So where we started just 31 days ago was the idea of building a group trip, and that can serve as a folder for your subtrips. So now you can easily move in all of those subtrips into your groups. You can manage things on your trip planning board by only filtering by just regular trips and groups, for example, and collapsing those subtrips. You can drill into specific subtrips by group, and this really just amped up the level of organization you're able to do within the Tern system. Next, we heard that itineraries were just such a pain when it came to groups. So often what you're doing in other systems is having a single landing page or brief itinerary that you are sharing out, but not really spending time on personalized client itineraries because it's just way too time consuming and way too difficult. You have to build each one basically manually. And then maybe you're invoicing individually for those trips and kind of manually porting information back and forth, and just watching people's screens and seeing those workflows, we really wanted to solve this. And so we built the idea of a group itinerary. You plan a trip normally in Tern, just like you would. You can use Tern AI Assist. You can use all of the library elements to build this out efficiently. You can set up payment schedules, get things ready for authorization just once. And then when you create sub-trips or clients sign up, which we'll talk about in a little bit later, all of those things automatically copy in to those sub-trips. You set it up once, and it's automatically inherited to all of those sub-trips. So just like that, you have a personalized itinerary for every client without the work of needing to do that each time. But what we also heard is that you need also some flexibility. So maybe most of the sub-trips have the same group itinerary, but then you have a handful that are maybe staying a few extra days. They're taking a Rome FIT, and you need to be able to have flexibility to make those adjustments on a per trip basis. So when you create those sub-trips, you can manage them across the group. You can see them in your group folder, but they still maintain their own status. You can extend their trip dates. You can plan custom activities. You can do any customization you need at the sub-trip level. All right, so you've got your group itinerary wired up, and you have your sub-trips getting created. We heard another major gap, and that was room options. And this wasn't just about groups. We've been hearing this for so long that setting up the ability for clients to select different rooms is just a total nightmare when it comes to itinerary management. And we thought, okay, if we don't do this now, if we don't improve this now, it's going to become even worse of an issue for groups. So we carved out time on our roadmap to solve this problem. Now you can set up room options directly on your lodging activities for regular trips, for group trips, for sub-trips within a group. You can convert existing rooms to options if you've already set them up, so don't worry, none of that will be lost. And once you do this, once you convert your rooms to options, clients can seamlessly select from these options directly from their itinerary and when signing up for their group. So David's going to bring this to life and really show you how it works, but no more setting up, an option block with the same lodging item 3 times for 3 different rooms. You can just do it beautifully within the rooms tab and just convert those things to options for those selections. Cannot wait for you to see that piece. And again, this is available beyond just groups. All right, so once your itinerary is fully ready to go, you've got those selections set up, everything's ready, you now have to get travelers signed up. And so some of the main things that we heard is getting all of that critical traveler information, ideally in a structured way where you're not having to port over and copy and paste data to again, manually build these things into your trip, is so essential. And so we built a single integrated sign-up flow. This is brand new as of yesterday evening. So even our Tern detectives, I think, may not know about this yet. It's a single integrated flow. You can customize the group sign-up form to collect any information you need from travelers. The traveler information that is filled out will automatically be added as travelers on the trip itself and created in your CRM. Those room selections that you've set up, credit card authorization that you've set up, clients will be prompted seamlessly to fill those out, to make those selections, to make that authorization, all by signing up for the group. And then that sub-trip is automatically created and personalized to the client based on the selections that they've made and the authorizations that they've made. Everything just works. So again, I'm so excited to see this brought to life with the demo. But really what we're trying to do here is, it's like any other trip. You're just planning a single trip and then it all just works. And hopefully you agree that we have been able to bring that to life. The final piece before I hand it over to Brad is that when it comes to managing things as these signups start to happen, you need communication and follow-ups to be efficient. If you're planning a trip of hundreds, you're not going to be able to craft personalized emails for every single sub-trip. But you still want to be able to tailor things, maybe specifically for that group. There might be different types of needs around communication. So as a part of all of this, we made sure that you're able to use Tern workflows and automated emails in a way that works for your groups. So not only do your regular automations and workflows all apply to subtrips that are created. So if you've set up payment reminders or some of the other standard kind of automated emails, all of those will work. We've also thought about this from a groups level. So if you apply a tag to your group trip, subtrips inherit that tag, and you can set up workflows based around that tag. So if you have a whole communication stream you want to send to every single client of every subtrip that's created, very specific to the group, you can do that no problem in Tern. And David's going to show you what that looks like. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Brad to talk about the client experience next.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I, like you, am so excited to talk about all these things. And you stole my joke about being the downer on the podcast, being the non-believer. But it's been so much fun to be able to do the podcast and talk about these things every week. And even more exciting to share this with everyone on giant webinars like this. So I lead design here at Tern, joining from Philadelphia today. And I get to share more about the client experience. So Molly talked a lot about and kind of like hinted at some of these things, but we're going to dig into some of the details now. Similar to what we talked about on your side, making sure it's as easy for you to plan group trips as it is individual trips. We want to make sure that same spirit comes to the client side of the experience. We want to make sure that that feels just as good, even though you maybe don't have a personal relationship with every client on the group and you don't always have the same amount of time, that to them, it still feels the same, and if not even better, because you need to build some additional kind of trust because you don't have that personal relationship. But historically, we've heard that this experience in other tools or whatever you're using today has felt outdated and kind of lax compared to what you really would like. One of the things we did very early on when interviewing advisors was asking for like, what are your pain points around groups? Where do you struggle today? You know, what are the challenges you're running into? And we heard so often that folks didn't love the landing pages they were able to build in other tools and the forms they were able to create. We even had one advisor kind of start a conversation saying something like, don't judge me, but like, this is what I have. We can look at it on this call. And so we really wanted to make sure that that was not the way things went in Tern. We wanted to make sure that the struggles that folks had with things feeling outdated, hard to build, or even harder for clients to use were solved. And we tried to take kind of our modern design approach and aesthetic that we have elsewhere in the product and bring it into our group's features as well. We're going to start by looking at a landing page in Tern. One of the things you'll notice here on this group's landing page is that you're really drawn in to the images at the top of the page. We took extra time to invest in making sure that you could tell the story of a trip in a visual way right at the top. So when your clients get here, immediately they're drawn in and thinking, I want to go on this trip. Like, how do I get here? How do I get to be in this picture? We invested in some time building kind of a flexible component here where you can add 1, 5, 20, however many images you want, and they'll look beautiful and really draw clients in. In addition to great imagery, we made it super easy to feature itinerary previews within your group trip landing page. Like Molly showed, you can build out itineraries in Tern just like you can today for regular trips. You can do that for groups. And when you build them out there, we'll automatically pull a preview of that itinerary into your landing page. That can include information blocks, that can include any sort of activities or lodging items that are happening every day. But that'll all be featured in a quick preview where clients can click in to learn more and expand, collapse, kind of like explore on their own to again get a better sense of what it would be like for them to go on this trip. Beyond beautiful images and in an itinerary preview, we wanted to make sure that we maintain the flexibility that you need to present any sort of information that you want or need to highlight when selling your group trip. So we've created customizable and flexible information sections that you can add images, embed videos, and include any sort of rich text content and format it in whatever way you want to make sure that you call attention to important details. The last piece on the landing page is that we added a section for a clear call to action. There's nothing worse than getting people excited about their trip and then they don't know what to do next. There's a clear sign up button at the top that you can customize the label. We've seen folks have lots of fun with kind of like theming these things to make sure that folks know exactly where to click and they're excited about the trip. And that'll take you to that full sign up form experience like Molly mentioned. But we also have a secondary action you can customize if you want to direct folks with more passive interest to email you, maybe fill out a form outside of Tern, or anything you really can think of. So the landing page has beautiful imagery. It has a preview of our itinerary and flexible information sections to help you sell. But beyond that, we needed to make sure that the actual sign-up experience itself felt modern and trustworthy, especially when you're going to be asking folks for their credit card details at the time of sign-up for credit card authorization. We want to make sure there's no question about whether they can trust the form they're filling out or kind of the maybe outdated UI they're running into when they're trying to book their trip. In turn, one of the things we took the time to invest in, as Molly mentioned, was room preferences and room options. When clients go to sign up, they'll see a pretty familiar room selection area where they can pick the number of rooms that they need to book for their party on the trip. They can select from the room types that you've added, whether this is a cruise or a hotel, any of those things you can pull in. They can select them here. They could view more details if they need to and submit those selections. After they do that, they'll be taken to the authorization page, the credit card authorization page. And this is basically our incredible credit card authorization that David mentioned that we built very early on this year. We were able to port that over from our regular trips in Tern right into the group sign-up experience. This will show them everything you have set up, any payments they need to make at the time of sign-up. They'll be able to review those items, add their credit card details, and then they'll agree to your terms and conditions and add an e-signature before submitting. Clients have loved this credit card authorization flow, describing it as feeling modern, clean, and like other checkout experiences in online stores. So we're really excited to be able to integrate that into the sign-up flow for groups. One thing to note about collecting credit card authorization is we do require travelers to verify their email address when submitting their credit card details and adding their e-signature. This is to make sure that we have an extra layer of protection that folks are actually who they say they are, and they're not just signing up with somebody else's email and giving you fake credit card details. Well, we've done this in the past. What we've traditionally done is we've had folks actually create a full account in Tern. So they would also create a password. They'd enter additional details when they're creating their account. We've gotten so much feedback over the last maybe like 9 months or so about this kind of being a challenge for some travelers to remember another password, have a separate sign-in. So we did change this a bit for groups. What we're doing instead of requiring folks to create a password and create an account is just we'll send them a verification code to the email they're using to sign up. They can copy and paste that code here into Tern and they're on their way. So no need to set a password and officially go through what we'd consider in the past like an account creation flow. And for now, this is in the group sign-up experience. But stay tuned. Very early in January, we're going to be bringing this everywhere where people or where clients sign in to Tern. So for other things like just making regular authorizations, making selections on their trip, all those things. I see the chat blowing up. We knew this was going to land. We're so excited. And shout out to everyone who, on our team who's helped pull this off. We weren't sure if we were going to get it in before the webinar. And it's been really cool that we've been able to still maintain that same level of security while also making it easier for clients. Okay, the last thing before we wrap up here is I do want to just come back to what Molly was saying about how challenging it's been for advisors to have personalized or individual itineraries for their parties within big group trips. We've heard that this is like too time-consuming to manage, but in the flow I just showed you, the moment a traveler signs up for their group trip, when they submit their details, submit their authorization, those things, they'll automatically have a personalized itinerary created for them. I think this will really come to life in the demo that David will do here in a minute. But this will show all of the items that you had at the itinerary at the group level. It will show their specific room selections that they made in that sign-up flow so they can see exactly what they picked here. And it'll show all of their payments they authorized at the time of sign-up, in addition to any future payments that they'll need to make, including the due dates for those payments. When they need to make those payments, I'm sure you'll remind them with emails and automations, but they can also just come back to this link and they'll be able to authorize those payments directly from this itinerary. And this is custom for each individual traveler. So if you needed to make adjustments for a specific traveler or people who are on the same party, you could do that here and they'll just have it right in front of them. All right, so we've covered a lot. As David mentioned, we are going to do a deeper dive here and include some courses within Turn and Learn to make sure that you can get all of the details you need about how this applies to your trips, to your type of group travel, things like that. This will be available this Friday, so stay tuned for that. Also, don't worry if you didn't hear about the specific groups feature that you've been looking for that you're going to need. Well, this is like not what we said, like we finished groups. This is the launch of groups. This is the very beginning of probably a longer journey for us to make sure that we continue to improve groups over time. So Molly's going to be back in a bit to talk more about what to expect going forward for group improvements. And now I'm going to hand it over to David to do a live demo. Thank you all so much for sticking with us, and can't wait for you all to see what we have in store.
Wow, I hope you all are as just on fire, hyped up as I am right now. It is so cool to see what has been happening and just like the amount of progress that's been going on over the past 31 days. If this is your first Tern webinar, one of the things that we really believe in is letting the product speak for itself. So while we always like to open up with kind of slides to help you position our thinking and understand the problems that we were trying to solve and how we thought about actually building solutions for that, what we also really believe in is doing a real live demo. And today we are going to do exactly that. We're going to build a group trip together from scratch. We're going to show you how you can create a stunning landing page. We're going to take you through the process of having a client register, and we're going to do it all live on this webinar. Before I jump into that, I do want to just say that we have officially broken, shattered attendance records. Honestly, we had a whole debate around what our percentage attendance would be given the holidays, and we've crushed it. We actually have hit capacity. So if you have friends or other advisors that were hoping to get in and they're getting a message saying we're at capacity, let them know that we will be sharing the recording. We'll be sharing all the resources out. And turns out even the upgraded webinar package that we splurged on wasn't enough. So thank you all for being here and kind of making Tern history together. And with that, let's jump into a demo. So if you haven't seen Tern, or this is maybe been a while, when you come in as an advisor, this is the view that greets you. You have a whole kind of board view that allows you to define your process with managing trips. And the idea here is that you can just drag and drop along your process, drive automations, emails, tasks, all based on these different statuses. You can see that you can collaborate on trips by going to shared with me, and there's a lot here. But what we're going to start by doing is going over to the top right, and we're going to click on new trip. And this is going to bring up the new trip kind of process. Now, this is not new in and of itself, but what we have introduced is this brand new trip type. And so I'm going to go ahead. We're going to plan a group trip to the UK in the spring of 2025. I spent 3 years living in the UK. I always told people I think the spring is the best time to go. And so we're going to plan a spring trip to the UK, and we're going to make this a group trip. Now, by making this a group trip, we're going to get all the benefits that Brad and Molly just talked us through. I'm going to say that this is in the planning process. And just like Molly said around the tags, I'm going to say that this is going to be our UK group trip. Now, by tagging this, what this means is that every sub trip that's going to be created will automatically have this tag. And as such, will automatically have the workflow and automations and tasks that I've set up to be automated based on that. Now, for the dates, we're going to say that this is going to be in May of 2025. Specifically, we'll say it's May 9th through and I need to move my little Zoom share there, May 9th through the 24th. And we'll now go ahead and create that trip just by clicking on Create Trip here. Now, what you'll notice right away is a little bit of a different layout from our standard trip, which is really kind of designed for maybe a single FIT or cruises, those types of things where you're not managing a group. On those, you've got a CRM overview that shows you all of your travelers. But here, because this is a group trip, we're showing you these sub trips that have been created underneath this. Now, since we just created this trip, we don't have any sub trips yet, but you will by the end of this demo, where we're going to create an itinerary. We're going to show you a landing page, and then we're going to go through the client registration process so you can really see how all these pieces connect. There are a lot of similarities, though. So if you're using Tern already for normal trips, you're going to pick this up very, very quickly. On the right-hand side, you have the ability to set things like the default currency. So regardless of what country you're in, you can set your default currency, and that will propagate through here and to all the sub-trips. And you can decide, do you want to let clients download a PDF? How do you want to view pricing, itinerary style? Kind of all these different details and configuration options that you have throughout Tern are available here on the group. But what we're going to do now is actually go over to the left, and we're going to click on itinerary. Again, if you haven't seen Tern's itinerary builder in a while, it has evolved a lot. One of the things you'll notice right away is that you have the ability to toggle between these different layouts. So some people we know like to see the days kind of vertically here, but some people also prefer more of a board view where you can kind of see each day almost as a column. You have the ability to decide which of those layouts you'd like. You also notice our new trip details section where you can drag and drop content that's not necessarily related to a specific day, making it a really easy way to add things like packing lists or different visa information, whatever you want to add that's not specific to a day, you can drag into that section. To actually build trips, we just drag and drop the components on the right-hand side over. You can use tools to save time, like our built-in cruise library. We'll show that here in a moment. So at the kind of end of the demo, we can add flights and use Tern's built-in flight tracker, like we talked about, our lodging element, which brings in 1.2 million hotel properties. There's a lot of content here to help you make that trip easy. But of course, we also have Tern's AI Assist tool, which lets you upload a PDF from a DMC and it will build out the whole trip for you. Or you can even start to type, hey, give me some ideas for what my clients could do for the day in Amsterdam. And it will come back with a structured itinerary suggestions that you can then quickly add and review. For this, we're not going to be demoing building out a full trip. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab an itinerary item that are itinerary that I've saved to my library. And we have a full library feature in Tern, makes it really easy to save entire itineraries or specific activities that you're using over and over again. So all I'm going to do is drag over the itinerary library right onto the board and just let go of that. And you'll see that it's going to bring up my list of templates that I have. Now I could click in on this just to get a sense. So I'll click in on this springtime in the UK, and you can see that I've saved media. I've got this overview that's been saved, a packing list. I have this full trip itinerary for the UK that has been saved to my library. And so what I'm going to do is just click on add to itinerary. And just like you can do for a normal trip, you can add this to the group itinerary. And so you can see it's built out all these different details. We have this amazing stay at the Savoy. We have a private tour, a visit to Stonehenge. And we've brought over the times, pricing, and packaging. Now, of course, you could add all this manually by kind of dragging and dropping those components, or use the library items, or use things that have been shared with you before. So there's lots of flexibility to build out the group itinerary in the way that works for you. But what I do want to do here is I want to go down to the stay at the Balmoral. Because on the itinerary here, we just have a single room. And I want to demonstrate how we could now present room options to our clients. We already have that set up on the Savoy, but we want to add that to the Balmoral. So we'll go ahead and click in on this. And you can see the different details that have been pre-populated. What I'm going to do is right from the lodging element, I'm going to click on rooms. And you'll notice this new button up on the top right that says convert to options. And so as an advisor, you have the ability to decide, do I want to just list multiple rooms? Do I want to convert them to options? You can decide sort of the state that this is in. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on convert to options. It's going to give me a confirmation here and saying you're making sure that you want to do that. And I'll confirm that. And you'll now notice that it says room options, option 1, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add a couple of room options here. I've got a couple that I'll paste in just for the sake of time. And so we'll grab we'll say that we're going to have a deluxe room castle view, and we'll go ahead and add another room option. And again, the idea here is that we're giving our clients choice on what type of room they want for this stay. So, and the same thing, we'll kind of, if we have time, we'll show how this works on cruising, where you can actually start to present multiple cabin options or multiple hotel rooms or different, suite or non-suite. This really lets you start to lay out the different options for your clients. Now, obviously, different rooms often have different prices, and so you want to communicate that to the client. Before I click on booking and pricing, I'll also highlight you could add, just by clicking on the plus here, different media, images, video of the room to help them inform their decision even further. But I'll go ahead and I'll go up to the top, I'll click on booking and pricing. And this is now, if I toggle over to per room, we can now see that we can start to define a price point here per room. So we'll say that for the deluxe room, maybe that's £750 per night. So again, just highlighting here that we have flexibility to decide what currencies this is being charged in. And we can say that the executive room is going to be more like £980 per night. Just like everything in Tern, you've got full flexibility to define payment schedules. If it's a guarantee, if it's a deposit and final balance, we'll say in this case, maybe it's a guarantee. So just like that, we've now structured the Tern itinerary to give our clients a choice on which rooms they want, which is going to unlock this online checkout style experience for groups. And just like was said earlier, this same experience works for groups, but it also works for itineraries for normal trips super seamlessly. You can do the exact same things that if you're doing maybe a all-inclusive for clients, maybe it's a simpler itinerary, you can still present multiple room options without having to mess around with multiple option blocks and manually converting those. And we've just really streamlined this. I think this is a really, really special experience. And with that, we've got this itinerary in a really good place. Just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to go ahead and click on preview up here in the top right. And this is going to let me preview that itinerary. And again, this itinerary is going to be applied by default to any of the client trips that are created via the registration form. And so we can see we've got this kind of beautiful itinerary that's super interactive. So now that we have the itinerary in place, we can start to build the landing page. I think about it as kind of like you build the itinerary is going to inform the landing page automatically. Just like Brad said, we saw the landing page really, almost every group landing page we looked at had an itinerary section, and we're like, why recreate the whole itinerary? Let's use the itinerary builder that we have and automatically push that into the landing page. And so if I click on the landing page tab, this is something that you'll find under the group trips. We can now start to see the editor for the landing page. And I think the team's just done such an exceptional job at building a lot of flexibility into making this landing page customizable to really sell the trip that you're designing, regardless of what type of trip it is, but also keeping it approachable, right? You could build super complex landing page builders that are really tough to use, but here it's really straightforward. We can start to come in, and the first question here is what page title do you want? And so we'll put in castles, countryside, and cobblestones, spring in the UK. And now we have an overview. Again, if you're a flight path listener, you'll have heard Brad's kind of best practice recommendation here, which is to keep this short and sweet. You want this to sort of be the hook that gets people interested. Don't put every single detail in this because it'll be a little bit overwhelming, but we just keep it short and sweet. We'll say that we've got this kind of, maybe 5 or 6 sentence description here that's really hoping to get people excited. And then you have imagery. Now, there's lots of ways that you can start to add imagery. If you've done a trip similar before, you have your own images. All you have to do is drag and drop them here. You'll upload them, and those will be featured on your landing page. But if you're looking for maybe some other inspiration, you can just use the royalty-free image database that Tern has built in. So we could start to say, we want to find some images of Cornwall. Yeah, these are looking pretty nice. I'll add a couple of these. And then we're also going to be visiting Scotland in this trip. So we can go ahead and say, well, let's find some pictures of Scotland. We'll add those in here. Again, you would probably you can either upload your own, you can use the image database, or you can also copy and paste images right into here. So if you have them in a Word doc, something like that, you can just paste that image right here, and it will bring that content over for you. And so you can see we've got these images. You can rearrange these just by dragging and dropping to decide where they should show up on the landing page. So it's very easy to manage that. All right, the last thing that we need to do, we've added images, we've created the kind of intro. The last thing that we really need to do, as Brad said, is to add some additional information. This is really flexible. We think about each trip having different options of what types of things you want. And so what we'll do is we'll just add some additional information here. I've got a couple kind of pre-prepared that we'll just paste in. Why spring is the perfect time to visit the UK. I'm a big fan of using images. And like I said, I lived there, so couldn't help but include a picture of my dog Spark here, standing in front of some beautiful roses in the UK. So, dogs are always a hit on the demo. So we'll add that in, and we can put in some text in that section. Can add an additional section here, maybe on the kind of the inclusions and pricing. So we'll say inclusion and pricing, just so people can get a sense of that. Right from here. There's a lot of flexibility in the formatting. We really wanted to give you the option to put your own stamp on this, to lay this out in a way that makes sense for you. And so maybe you want to add a table that's like, okay, your luxury price is going to be the $11,500, and this includes the top tier lodging, and the deluxe price is a little bit more affordable. It's $8,500 per person. We should say per person on each of these. So again, you can start to use these tables in a way that makes sense, but then you can also start to add content, whether that's bullet points or other things. Again, I'll paste in just some bullet points that we have here to make this really easy. Again, so if you have content elsewhere, easy to kind of copy and paste that in. All right, I know we're going through this fairly quickly, but just to recap what we've done, building landing pages in Tern is really straightforward. We gave it a page title, we added an overview, put some images in there, added a couple sections with things that we wanted to highlight, and let's see what it looks like. Just like an itinerary, so we can go up to preview and click on preview here, and you have, with like not that much work, this stunning landing page that really brings your trip to life. We could click in on these images to learn more, just like Brad talked about. We spent a lot of time helping this be image forward. We know images are captivating. It helps sell travel. It gets people's wanderlust going. And so it's a great thing to feature. We can see that description. Again, we're keeping this short and sweet to kind of get that hook set. And then we have the interactive itinerary. Now, again, we didn't add any specific itinerary section to the landing page. We are just featuring that automatically. And so as a traveler, I could click in and be like, oh, well, what are we up to in London? Like, oh, we're staying at the Savoy. Let me click on that. And all the itinerary content is available right from there. You can even click on the full itinerary link here, and they can explore this as if it were an itinerary that they had been sent personally. Clicking in on the options to see, in this case, the different rooms that they can choose from and getting a description. Again, all of this is automatically applied to your landing page without you having to do any additional work. Okay, so that we just previewed the itinerary. One thing you will notice, though, is if you were paying attention, is we didn't have any calls to action on that itinerary, or that landing page, excuse me. Just like Brad said, the landing page, having a clear call to action that helps convert the interested to actually purchasing is incredibly important. And we have two primary ways that you can add a call to action onto the itinerary, or the landing page. And those are both found over here on the right side. So the first thing that I'm going to add is actually this bottom one, which is a custom call to action. I'm going to say contact Love in a Suitcase about this trip. And there's lots of different ways that you can link out here. You could include a URL to a form, but we also have a Help Center article that gives you some tips and tricks on how to do this. For example, if you just type in mail to and then put in the email here, it will actually go ahead and prompt them to start an email. So I'll go ahead and enable that call to action. The second type of call to action that we can set up is this self-service. Now, before I do that, let me just preview the landing page, just going up to the top right here and clicking on preview. And again, we'll now see we have this call to action that shows up. And if you were to click on that, it would bring you right into an email and start the conversation. You can link out to a form, an email. You can even link out to a phone number. So if somebody's looking at this on mobile, they can just tap that and give you a call. You've got lots of flexibility in what that call to action does. And you'll notice this is like a little detail. And I really like to call it these little details because I think it shows just the care that the team puts into this. This is the primary call to action right now because it's the only call to action. But if you think about actually making this self-service so that somebody can actually register for the trip, that's the primary call to action. So just pay attention to what happens to this button. When we go back to the trip, I'm going back and forth between tabs here, but if we go back to the trip, and now we're going to complete this self-service sign up. And this is, again, I think what makes, what we're about to see is the game changer. I think the landing pages are beautiful. They're really powerful. They're amazing. The itinerary is super cool how it integrates to the landing page. But this experience of creating an online checkout style booking experience for your clients is what makes Tern's group product best in class, in my opinion. And watch how easy it is to set it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it a label, and we'll say register today. Again, you can label this whatever you like. And I'm going to click on edit sign up form. Now, this is going to bring you to a specially designed and created version of Tern's form builder that lets you build a registration form for this trip. So again, if you're familiar with Tern, this will look very familiar to you. You can drag and drop these different questions over. You can even add things like an e-signature. You can add custom contract terms by adding an info block and pasting in the contract details and having people sign that. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this. But you can also style it. Like Brad said, like having this kind of represent your brand and your ethos, we think is really important. So I could go ahead and upload an image here and put that in and say that we're going to have a nice little AI generated image of the trip to London, and even start to paste in, maybe a little bit more context on how they should think about kind of this form just by pasting that in. By default, Tern's going to be tracking the traveler details. We're going to add those terms and conditions, but you can customize this. You can add additional pages. You have a lot of flexibility to create a sign-up form that makes sense for your trip. All right, I'm going to save that just by going up to the top right and clicking on Save and Close. And that's going to bring me back to my group trip. Once I'm feeling good about the sign-up form and the landing page, all I have to do is click on Enable Sign-up and enable that landing page. Click on Publish up in the top right, and Tern's going to give me a link to both the itinerary and the landing page that I can now start to share. And so if I copy that landing page link, and I'm going to go ahead and actually open up a new window and share this window with you. So we've got a new kind of simulating being a traveler. Maybe you texted them this link, maybe you emailed it, they click on it, and they are brought to a landing page that looks like this, which I think is really, really beautiful. And again, I'm getting wanderlust just looking at these pictures and definitely a little bit of nostalgia. So scrolling through and thinking about this kind of trip, again, that interactive itinerary available right from here, any of that custom information that you want to add, including those images to really drive excitement available. And again, on the right, you'll notice this call to action has changed a little bit. And I know this is like a little detail, and there's so many little details, but like, look at how the primary call to action, which was contact Love in a Suitcase, has now changed to register to today. And again, this is the dynamic nature of this form, is we're paying attention to what the call to actions you have and like what should be that primary call to action. And so let's actually go through the process of registering as a traveler. And I'll click on register today. And this is where I can now go through this form. So you can see here's that beautiful image that we uploaded. Here's that custom text that we created. And I'm going to say that this is going to be for Philip Turner. And we're going to say that Philip's email is blobs and at icloud.com. And we're going to go ahead and add the phone number in here. Now you'll notice right away that this is auto saving. So we're kind of keeping track of the details automatically. And now when we click on next, it's going to bring us to this traveler form. So right from here, we can now start to add any of the key data. We can say that the kind of birth date is here. We could add additional travelers. So if Philip's traveling maybe with Jane Turner, we can add that in here again with any of those kind of key details that are available. And we'll show you some really cool things that happen in just a second here. So we'll say that they've got the birthdays. We can add different details. Now, as a reminder, you can add custom questions to this form. You can decide which of those custom questions are required or not. Like, you've got flexibility here. We are using just the most basic of booking form in the interest of time. The last thing I'll do is click on I agree to the Love in a Suitcase's terms and conditions. I click on submit. And now we get to that brand new experience that Brad was talking about, which is the validation or the verification of the email. So you can see, instead of this whole, like, I've got to create an account thing and managing it that way, literally it's just like, hey, we sent you a 4-digit code, I think it's 4-digit code, a code. And you can't see this because it's another tab, but the code just came in. It comes in instantly. And so I just paste that in and you'll notice it verifies, and it's that easy. The cool thing about this is that we get the benefits of an account behind the scenes. We've kind of validated that's their email. They filled out this form, so we know who they are. And we have the kind of security that comes along with that. But we also have made it so much easier. They can look at their phone, see the email, type it in. They can click on the link, whatever that is. It's so much easier than having to be like, oh, I've got to remember another password, and I've got to go through this whole account creation thing, and I have to select that I'm a traveler. And like, we hear you. That was a little bit, a little bit much. And now we've streamlined that dramatically and have the best of both worlds. Again, we want to make sure that your business is protected, that we're doing everything we can to help with that, but also make sure that your clients have a great experience. Now we get to something really cool. Select rooms, right? So if you remember, we added room options on the Balmoral. We also had some built in already on the Savoy. And so now, as a part of the registration process, those selections that we created are here. Now, if I was a bigger family and we were all registering for this, I could actually come in and say, we need 2 or 3 rooms. And you'll notice that Tern's dynamic, and it's letting them select which option they want for each of those rooms. So a lot of flexibility. This is essentially like booking experience for your group trip. And so we can now start to say, I want that, maybe the luxury double-double. We'll select that at the Savoy, and we want the, you got to have an Old Town view, I feel like, if you're in Edinburgh. So we'll go ahead and select the Old Town view. You can see those selections have now been made. We could edit them if we want to. And every step of the way, we're very intentionally elevating your brand, your face, your timeline photo. We want to amplify the relationship that they have with you as the person that's actually planning this trip. And so now that we've done that, and by the way, like I said, this works for regular trips as well, but for group trips, it's even kind of more special in the way that it integrates with the landing page. I can now go ahead and submit those selections. And this is pretty sweet. Right into credit card authorization. Again, we heard so many times, it's like, whoa, like every group, I'm like creating custom authorization form and I'm like sending them the details, and it's like tracking all these different pieces. It's like kind of a nightmare. Automatically integrated. All the details that we need to do a credit card authorization are the itinerary. And so why not just collect that during the registration process? You have one seamless booking flow, just like if you're booking something online. This is online, right? And it's like, that should be the same experience. And they can now go through and they can say, yeah, oh, this looks good. Now, because Philip has an account already, it's actually letting them access that saved credit card. Like, yeah, put that on my Visa Reserve. That's perfect. We can see the different elements. Again, details like that I think are really special about Tern. These are in pounds. You probably not, like, your average client may not be tracking the exchange rate of like, what's pounds to dollars? Like, so we show them, here's the mid-market rate as of today. This is about $1,912. Like, automatically happens between your default currency and what you set in there. Again, the details matter, especially when you're trying to present yourself as a professional who's really focused on creating that great experience. And your software should enable you to deliver that. And so we really are proud of the level of detail that exists here. So it's literally this easy. You say, yep, this all looks good. Do that. I'm agreeing to those terms and conditions, and authorizing. We're saying that this is fill up. We do the signature thing and go ahead and submit that authorization. Boom. View responses have been submitted successfully. So this is pretty sweet, because watch what I can do now. View your trip. Here's my custom itinerary based on the online checkout style experience that I just had. As a traveler, I instantly have access to a personalized version of my itinerary. I can scroll down and I can see under the Savoy, I selected the luxury double-double. I can scroll up and click on pricing, and I can see that I have authorized $11,000 and I've got $8,000 remaining. I could choose to make additional authorizations. This is automatically created based on all the building blocks that we've been spending the past 18 months building to create this experience. I always said groups are going to be later in the roadmap because it's the thing that sits on top every other one of the building blocks, and this is why. To create this experience, you have to have every single one of the Tern features coming together to enable something that feels this seamless and this magical for your clients. And so incredibly proud of that. But what I think is also kind of cool, and like, if you're a Tern user, you may be like, oh yeah, like, of course this works that way. But like, it also means that if your clients pull up their phone and they refresh the Tern app, which once I connect here, we're connecting, we can go ahead and refresh this, and automatically they're going to have access to those trips, right? So their trips are going to show up here, and it's going to allow them to start to go through the itinerary. Highlights to Hamlets, UK in full. This is literally the thing that we just registered for. We saw the refresh, it loaded that in, and we can now click in on this. We can see the imagery, we can see that overview. We can even start to click in and start to say, like, okay, what's the stay at the Savoy look like? We can start to flip through the different photos. Like, so cool. That is the experience that you get to deliver to your clients. Like, so fired up about this. I think it is really, really special and really, really unique. I'm going to show you a few other things before my time is up. Thank you for listening to me talk so long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually switch back over to the administrative view or the advisor view within Tern. So we just looked at the incredible self-service registration experience that you can deliver your clients with this groups product. And what I want to now do is show you how easy it makes it for you to start to administer these groups. And so I'm going to go back to my trips tab. I'm actually going to start right at the beginning. You'll notice right here on the trips tab that we have this Highlands to Hamlets. That's a group trip that we created. And I can see that we have a sub trip here. And so that's the sub trip that was just created from our client self-registering. So if we click in on this, instead of having empty no sub trips, here's that newly created sub trip. And so if I click in on this, I now have a summary of the travelers that are going. And again, I don't want to gloss over this. Everything in Tern's talking to each other. So we recognize, like, oh, Philip Turner, like, we know that email. That email is in a contact record in your database. So like, we can just connect that automatically and say, here are the preferences, here are the frequent flyer numbers, here's all the details about that person, because we just know who they are, right? And so we're supplementing that. We didn't see that in the form. It's just supplementing those records. And if we don't know them, we can still get all the information that they completed in the form. So again, intelligence built in throughout the platform to make your life easier. Now, you also have flexibility. So maybe the Turners want to change it up a little bit and do a couple extra days in London. You have a custom itinerary that you can go in and you can start to edit. You can say, we're going to add some dates. We're going to add a couple extra activities. We're going to extend pre and post. Like, you still have the flexibility for every sub trip to customize it in a way that makes sense for you. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the efficiency of them being a part of the group, but when you need to go in and say, okay, when you're doing a pre or post, or they're adding this add-on that is later, you can come in and just like you can with any other itinerary in Tern, you can start to move that around. You can start to manipulate it, and they will see those changes as soon as you click on publish. What's also really cool is you can go over to the authorization tab and you can see, because they went through that online checkout style experience for the group, that kind of group booking experience, we have authorization. So if we click in on these opportunities, we can start to go in and we can start to say, okay, let's view the card details. Let's start to make that payment. Let's mark it as paid. And so all the kind of experiences that you have there are going to be super streamlined. And if we look at the document tab, you even have a full paper trail of each and every one of those authorizations. If, God forbid, you ever have to enforce those terms and conditions, or you ever have a chargeback, like the documentation of that authorization is here and ready for you. Now, the last thing I want to highlight is that if we look at the automations tab, you'll also see that we have these automations automatically applied because of the group trip connection. So if we look at these automations, I have a thank you for your trip request that's scheduled to go out. These were applied because, and I got a payment reminder that's due, right? So connected to that, you can see this is specific to this actual trip. I set that up. And that's that kind of workflow that Molly talked about, where you can apply a tag to the trip and have it automatically apply custom workflows unique to that group trip to really help you save time. And so in this case, I've said, I really want to email anytime the client has a payment due, 7 days before that, send them this nice branded email for the trip saying, hey, you've got a payment to make, and you can do that using the trip link. We've added this variable here. So again, we're covering a lot. And this is why we continue to say groups is the sort of amalgamation of all these other features coming together and working at scale. And it's also why we say that when we talk about making groups updates, it's actually just updates to the entire platform to make it work better at scale, to make it more efficient. And this is an example of that within the automations context. All right, a couple other things I want to show before I turn it back over to Molly and we wrap up with a couple slides. We've talked about this in the kind of context of a custom European trip. One of the things I think that is also incredibly cool is when you combine the room selection with Tern's cruise database is how amazing this is for group cruises. And so I've got this kind of shell group trip over on the left-hand side of my board here. So I click on group cruise. Again, no sub trips. I haven't done much with this yet. I just wanted to be able to show you how you can manage this on a cruise. I'm going to go back to that itinerary. And just like we talked about, we can use the cruise library. So I'm going to drag in the cruise library just like you can on any normal cruise trip. Just add the cruise library. And it's again going to show me all the cruises that I could select between those dates of the trip. So we can go ahead and say that we're maybe thinking about this Alaska Explorer on the Westerdam. We'll add that to the itinerary and boom, it's going to build all of that out. Now we want to present our clients with some cabin options, right? We probably have a couple different cabins in this room block that we've gotten. And so I'm going to go ahead and drag over a lodging item. And by dragging over that lodging item, Tern's smart enough to recognize, oh, well, you're on a cruise and it's on the Westerdam. That's probably what you want to be able to do. I'll say that this is going to be our cabin options. And now when I toggle over to rooms, I can search cabins right from here. So I can convert that to options because I want to present my clients with cabin options. And now I can search those cabins and I can now start to say, maybe we're thinking about the ocean view as one option. And again, it's going to bring in those details for me automatically. We can edit it if we want to. You'll notice it's bringing in media for me automatically. I'll go ahead and add an option here. Again, searching that cabinet. Maybe we want to do a Neptune suite as a bit of an upsell. It sounds pretty nice. And so we can add that. And again, it's bringing in some of that media for me under this media tab automatically. We could add the kind of custom booking and pricing just by toggling over to the booking and pricing tab. And again, we say it's now per room. And we can say that the ocean view is maybe going to be $560 per night. And the Neptune suite is closer to maybe $1,200. Again, flexibility on currencies. So what does this actually look like then from the client perspective? Well, let's go back to the itinerary. And I built out a very simple landing page here, but we can actually just look at the itinerary by clicking on preview in the top right. You get this amazing cruise content, right? Just like Tern's known for on the individual trips, you have all the media that's brought in. We can learn about the cruise line, including media. All of this is working on mobile. But what's really cool is that when it comes to them doing that checkout experience, they can click in and they'll be able to select which of their cabins they want. And the cabin descriptions and details are brought in automatically from our cruise content partner. So we think this is the absolute best platform to be able to manage group cruises. We're incredibly excited about how when you combine the groups tool with the cruise content partner and this new room and hotel kind of options for picking rooms, it just creates the most incredible client experience. And so we're just really, really proud of that. I thought I would end the live demos with just a couple examples of how we've seen actual advisors using Tern already and some really kind of neat real examples. And so I'm going to go ahead and just pull up another page here. All right. So the first one I want to highlight is just an example of Kate, who created this amazing destination wedding group. So we'll go ahead and you kind of look at this as an example. You just love the imagery and the use of this kind of custom image with the couple's name and details on it. We did get permission, by the way, to show these, but also highlighting the resort and just the photos you selected here. Like, I want to join this wedding. This looks like pretty sweet. And scrolling down, seeing the details, putting in information about the ceremony and the reception, and then using those custom sections to actually include different information about the resort, things that they can expect from a food perspective, outlining the different cost structures and how they can think about that across double and triple occupancy, different add-ons and things that they can do. So just really, really cool example of how this can work for a destination wedding. And again, we're going to talk about what's next with groups, and there's a lot that we're doing to make Tern the absolute best platform out there for managing destination weddings. So stay tuned for my section. Also love this one by Chloe on the kind of Alaskan cruise. Again, using some of this beautiful imagery of what it might be like to cruise in Alaska, having the kind of overview be this like high level overview of why you should book this group. And of course, looking at the details of each of the cruise ports, being able to click in on this and see those itineraries. But then I love the use of the YouTube video, right? Bringing in what's it like to sail on Princess right on the overview so that they can watch this experience without leaving your group page, right? But actually being able to experience that again, using the kind of rich media, including details about each of the highlights of the ports, really kind of a neat example. So it's been so fun to see how people are actually using these landing pages. And there's been hundreds of them already created. It's amazing to see the work that people are doing. And now with self-service, we can't wait to see how you all take them to the next level. It is going to be really, really cool. Okay, so we are going to go back to the slides where I get to get a break from talking here in just a moment. But let me do this. We're going to start that. And there we go. Okay, so wrapping up. We are incredibly proud of the progress that we made this year. Hopefully, if you take nothing away from this webinar, other than the fact that Tern is full of incredible engineers and product managers and designers and support folks that would just wake up every single day to build a product that can supercharge your business, that can help you grow your business, that can help you spend more time with your clients and your loved ones and less time on manual data entry. This is why we get up every single morning and why we love what we do. And so we are really excited about the tremendous value that Tern continues to bring. And so to kind of recognize that value, we're making a few tweaks to the Tern pricing. Starting on December 17th, Tern's $35 a month when you subscribe annually, $49 a month if that's billed monthly. If you want that flexibility, that's a great option for you. But because you're on this webinar and we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get the absolute best pricing available for Tern, I'm excited to say that those prices don't actually go into effect until December 17th. So if you're not a Tern user, this is a great time to sign up because prices will not change for anybody who has an existing subscription before December 17th. What does that mean? If you're a current Tern user and you have a subscription, your prices will not change. Don't worry. Don't pull up our emails. That's not going to change. I promise. It's going to be okay. If you're like, should I sign up for Tern? Like, now's a pretty good time to do it if you care about getting the best deal possible. On the 17th, we're going to start to kind of look back. We'll reflect on the whole year and we'll say that this is going to be the kind of time to recognize that value. We still think this is the best value on the market because you can consolidate 3 different systems into one, saving an average of probably $80 if you're actually using 2 or 3 different systems, which many people that are moving to Tern are doing. So this is, we're really stand behind the value that we're creating here. If you're an agency owner and you're listening to this, December is a fantastic month to lock in the lowest prices. We are going to be updating our agency pricing in 2025 to kind of reflect the updated subscriptions. And so you've got limited time to lock in Tern. If you have a lot of advisors, the lowest kind of bulk rate that we have right now is $21 per seat per month. That scales up depending on or down based on the kind of volume that you have. Get in touch with our partnerships team. We'd love to talk to you about how you can have one system that will supercharge your advisors and that will supercharge your back office from commission payment, supplier reconciliation, all of that in one place. There's no other system that enables you to do that. And if you want a cool case study of that, Brad put together a case study, I think it was Picture This Travel, who launched Tern and saw the first significant sales increase in months after making Tern available to their advisor. So if you want to sell more, if you care about your bottom line, you should get in touch with Tern. Like, this is going to be, I think, a huge differentiator for agencies, and it's a major focus for us next year. So get in touch, partnerships@tern.travel, or email any of the people that you know at Tern. We'll get you connected with the right folks. And I get to finally take a break and hand it over to Molly.
Wow, I was on the edge of my seat for that whole demo. I'm always expecting something to go wrong. I get like 10 different Apple Watch high heart rate notifications when David does these live demos. So glad it all went smoothly. So excited to see it all come together live. And even more excited to share about 2025. We think it's going to be the best year yet. So we will continue building our vision of a truly end-to-end platform for advisors, for agencies, and for suppliers. And we have a lot left to build. And we're not anywhere near done with groups. So these are some of the major features. I also wrote down some of the things that I was seeing in the chat and Q&A to make sure I speak to those as well. What we're working on right now is if you have option blocks that you've set up on your group itinerary, those will also appear for selections in the self-service sign-up experience. And that should go live this week. So that's almost there, just wasn't quite for the webinar. The next thing we'll be working on is optional add-ons. So a way easier way to say, these are things on my group level itinerary that clients can optionally add on. It won't impact the price until they do so, but they can do that in the self-service sign-up flow or a part of the itinerary once they've already signed up. We've seen a lot of questions about inventory management. I'm hoping this will be even before early February, but we're trying to be conservative here. So being able to say, rooms and optional items only have a certain number of available inventory, like 50 of a specific hotel room type. And then as your clients go through and sign up for your group trip, those automatically count against that inventory to prevent overbooking. We also heard over and over in our research with advisors that packages is kind of a pain point in Tern today, and is even more so going to be an issue for groups. And so we're investing, again, across all trips, not just group trips, in the ability for packages to, for advisors, for your side, retain that itemized pricing so you can still reference those prices within a package. And you can put things in a package and those client selections will still impact the final package price. So the package won't fully take over and kind of overwrite the pricing. Those room selections or whatever you need to do within the package will impact the price that they end up authorizing. And then finally, we have a bunch of tools to continue to help you scale your group trips. So things like insurance and document templates, improved email targeting, and lots of group level reporting will be coming throughout next year. We'll be slotting these things as we go on the roadmap, and certainly a lot of them in Q1. Things like authorization reports across your entire group. I saw a bunch of requests in the Q&A for things like exporting client data, so client data reports that they fill out in the form so you can work with your lead client or your supplier. So being able to see that client data across your subtrips and export it easily from Tern, very, very high on our radar. So think of this as a bucket of us just listening to a lot of that feedback around how to manage your groups at scale and integrating more of these kind of features and supports as we go. The other thing that is particularly important for groups that isn't quite a group's feature, so I didn't highlight it here, but I will speak to it, is as we speak, we are unlocking a new way for you to configure pricing so that you don't have to have a per night, per room pricing when you're setting up these room options. And this, again, is across every single trip type. You can just have a flat rate. So this is, we know for cruises, you want a flat rate per room. So that should be, I'm not sure if it will clear this week, but we're mapping it out and starting to build it. So certainly early next year. The other thing I didn't mention, because it's like not maybe a feature level item to add here, but we saw a lot of requests around this, is variable date ranges and different occupancy rates. So things like being able to have different ranges to pick from when booking a hotel room, for example, or being able to have like single versus double versus child rates in a more structured way and not having to like add the room 3 different times with those different rates. That's another thing that's high on our radar for early next year. Just checking my notes that I made real time when looking at this webinar. I think, final one. So structured media on the room level itself is something that we're also excited to support. So even when you're pulling in those cabin details automatically from the cruise, you're getting all that media content. We plan to add that structured media on the room level itself. For now, you can also just embed photos to better sell your rooms. So that's quite easy to do, but we want to have more of a structured media section like you're used to in other parts of Tern. All right. So that is just a bit of groups, and we're going to be listening and learning and changing up this roadmap based on the most important things to you. So keep the feedback coming. We love to hear it. But we're not just stopping with groups. We have so much we need to do across the advisor side in general. And this is not a comprehensive list. We tried to pick out some of the things that we thought would be most exciting to talk about from the advisor roadmap side. But we are not stopping here. We have a long list of things we plan to add next year. If you saw what we did this fall, we were shipping like multiple quick wins and larger features every single week. So we'll get through this list, before you know it. But things like improving AI Assist even further, more of a dedicated client portal for them to keep even more details up to date, like their passport and anything else you might need from them without having to fill out forms. This one we saw come up in particular in this webinar, but more control over your forms, things like middle name, things like better controls for optional and required fields within a form element. That's very, very high on our radar, in particular in the context of group trips, but is something that we'll explore across all form types. Flexible credit card storage. So not only having credit cards stored on specific activities, but being able to collect this more on the client level if it makes sense for your business. And then these last two are areas that are bigger changes. We can't promise anything yet, but we know they're two of the biggest ones on your minds: the text editor replacement and the advisor mobile app. So we are seriously investigating both of them for next year, and we'll keep you posted as we have more to share. And we're not done with agency either. We have so much to do on our agency roadmap. So we do plan to do an agency webinar in Q1. We'll talk about some of the things we simply didn't have time to go through today with the focus on groups. And we also have some early Q1 features that we will be excited to share. So things like better logging of adjustments and bonuses to reconcile supplier statements and pay out your agents, commission rules, so you can structure things like personal travel commission rates. And if a trip is referred by the agency to an agent, it's a lower rate for those agents. Things like better payout date logic, so that, when you're logging supplier received commission, your agents aren't getting paid automatically until the last date of travel without you having to manually enter those details. So a lot of customization and flexibility for how you want commission to work and be structured within your account. We're also going to be adding support for preferred suppliers so that you can better designate the preferred suppliers that you're working with to help your agents plan their trips, and parsing and auto matching. Efficiency. We really want to unlock the ability for you to automatically bring in those supplier statements, have them parsed directly into Tern without any of that manual data entry, and then matched to the bookings that your agents are making. So stay tuned for the webinar. We'll also be providing updates on our Signature and Virtuoso integrations. Those are on track as well, and lots more to share very soon. And I'll pass it over to David to close this out here.
I'm back. Thanks, Molly. I think it's so cool that we have a team that can execute on that roadmap, right? Think about how incredibly ambitious that is, and it's just really fun to think about what the product's going to look like in December of 2025, and we're excited to be on that journey with each and every one of you. One of the other things that we're going to continue to double down on is spending time and meeting all of you in person. I spent almost all of November traveling and going to conferences, and it's just so helpful and insightful to meet with you in person, to hear how you're using Tern, to hear your feedback. And so we're going to be doubling down on that. You'll find us at all kinds of conferences in 2025. And we're even exploring hosting our own users conference, potentially at sea. So one of the follow-up items that we'll be sending out is a form. We want to make sure that before we commit to anything, this is going to work for a lot of the Tern community and a lot of the Tern user base. And so we'll be asking, we'll kind of be putting our theory on like what could be really fun, which is a sailing in September on the brand new Brilliant Lady. But we want to make sure that that's accessible, that the dates work before we commit to anything formally. So keep an eye out for a survey as a part of the follow-up to this, probably coming out tomorrow. But this has been all over the Facebook group, people asking for more of kind of structured Tern training. We'll also be looking at how we can do more things regionally, how we can tie trainings to different users conferences or different conferences that we're already attending. But we get really excited about having a dedicated space to look at practical ways to move your business forward that are tied in with the Tern system. We go to a lot of these conferences and they're great, but a lot of them are either really high level or they're mostly supplier sales pitches, which can be very helpful. But we imagine that there's a really cool opportunity to create content that ties the technology you're using every day with actionable tips that will actually help you grow your business, whether you're just getting started as an advisor or you're just starting your own agency or you're looking to scale your agency. So stay tuned. We also really believe that it's not enough to have the great best product out there, that we need to pair that with world-class support. Huge shout out to Brooklyn and Ellen in particular, who hold down a lot of the kind of support for Tern and have just done an incredible job. And I'm thrilled to say that we'll be doubling the size of our support team in early 2025, plugging in more resources. Jade, who just started, is going to be leading a lot of work on rethinking what implementation looks like if you're an agency, looking at how can we make it easier to move over from legacy tools to Tern, and of course, doubling down on our training with a brand new Tern Learn experience. So I want to close with just a thank you to each and every one of you. We're going to spin the wheel here for the gift card, so don't drop off just yet. But I want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Tern. Like, you make it so fun to wake up and to build in this space, and we couldn't be more grateful. But I also want to take a step back and thank the team. I've got to spend a lot of time talking to you all about things that I did not actually build. And it's the people that you see on this slide that actually make this happen. They're the most incredible, hardworking, smartest team that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And so Brian, Zach, Matt, Spencer, Ellen, Jade, Emily, Dylan, Courtney, Katie, Brooklyn, Rickard, Andrew, James, Kayla, Brad, and Molly, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is so fun to be building this business with you. It is so fun doing webinars like this where we get to show off the impact that we're having on people's lives. So just join me in giving it up for them in the chat. And it is really